There is a particular kind of tension that settles over a tennis stadium when everybody in the building already senses they are about to watch something that matters. And that is exactly the feeling gripping Mason, Ohio right now. Because the 2026 Cincinnati Open has served up a second round matchup that nobody circled on their bracket a month ago, but that suddenly feels like the must-watch collision of the entire early draw. And it centers on one name that has taken over group chats and comment sections across the tennis world this summer, Alex, the Filipino phenomenon who has gone from promising prospect to genuine headline act in the span of a few blistering weeks. And standing directly in her path is a woman who has absolutely no interest in being a footnote in someone else's fairy tale, the Romanian veteran Elena-Gabriela Ruse. And if you think this is just another second round hardcourt match, you have not been paying attention. Because these two have history, real history, the kind that gives a routine early round matchup the emotional charge of a rematch fight. So settle in, because we are about to break down every layer of this showdown. From the numbers to the psychology to the surface itself, and by the end you will understand exactly why this might be the sneaky best match of the entire tournament. Let us start with Alex, because you cannot talk about this match without first talking about the summer she has just had. One of those stretches that redefines how an entire country looks at a sport. Alex walked into Washington a few weeks ago as a talented 21-year-old with potential everyone liked to talk about, and she walked out as a WTA 500 champion. The first player from the Philippines to ever crack the top 20 in the world, and she did not back into that milestone either. She marched through the draw beating names like Jessica Pegula, Naomi Osaka, and Anna Kalinskaya along the way, a run that would exhaust most players emotionally, let alone physically. And instead of fading afterward, she rolled straight into Toronto and pushed all the way to the fourth round before finally running into the buzzsaw that is Belinda Bencic. So by the time she landed in Cincinnati, the tennis world had already recalibrated its expectations for her. She arrived seeded 17th after a handful of late withdrawals bumped her up, and she was gifted a first round bye, which on paper sounds like a small mercy, but for a young player who has now played 56 matches this season with 37 wins. That bye was less a luxury and more a lifeline, a chance to let her legs recover, get some physio in, and mentally reset before diving back into the deep end, because make no mistake, this has been an absolutely brutal workload for someone her age. And the fact that she has not just survived it but thrived through it says everything about where her career trajectory is heading. Now flip the lens over to her opponent, because while Alex has been resting on the sidelines soaking in the moment, Elena-Gabriela Ruse has been busy making a statement of her own on the very same courts. Ruse is 28 years old, currently sitting around 77 in the world, a player who has clawed her way through the tour for years, dealt with injuries, ground through qualifying draws more times than she probably cares to remember, and reached a career high ranking in the 50s. And in her first round match here, she absolutely dismantled the experienced Polish veteran Magda Linette, and I mean dismantled. A 6-love, 6-3 demolition that barely gave the crowd time to find their seats before it was already over. Ruse was locked in from the first point, dictating rallies, painting lines, moving forward with total conviction. It was the kind of performance that does not just win a match. It sends a message to the rest of the draw that she is here to cause problems. So now you have these two very different stories colliding. A rising star who is suddenly the hunted instead of the hunter, carrying the weight of an entire nation's excitement on her shoulders, against a battle-hardened competitor who is playing with absolutely nothing to lose and every bit of momentum on her side. And layered on top of all of that is the piece of history that makes this whole thing genuinely spicy. Because these two have actually played before, 2 years ago, in the pressure cooker environment of the final qualifying round for the 2024 US Open, back when Alex was still a teenager fighting to break into the main draw of a Grand Slam for the first time. And it was Ruse who got the better of her that day, dropping the opening set before storming back to win in 3. A result that snatched Alex's main draw spot right out of her hands at Flushing Meadows. And you can bet that memory has not faded for Alex. Not even a little, she is a completely different competitor now. Sharper, stronger, more complete, but Ruse knows exactly what worked once. And she is walking onto this court fully believing she can pull off the same trick twice. So what actually changed for Alex between that painful qualifying loss and the player we see dominating draws today? Because the transformation is not subtle. It is night and day coming out of the Rafael Nadal Academy. Alex was always going to be given every chance to succeed. But the jump from junior Grand Slam champion, a title she claimed back in 2022, to legitimate senior tour threat is a road that has swallowed up countless promising careers. And yet she has navigated it with a level of composure that genuinely does not match her age. Her 2026 season alone has felt like watching a highlight reel assemble itself in real time. She opened the year making noise in Auckland, pushed into the second week at Wimbledon, reaching the 4th round on a surface that traditionally punishes younger baseline-heavy players. And then when the American hardcourt swing arrived, something just clicked, and she caught fire in a way that even her biggest supporters probably did not see coming. And if you ask what specifically flipped the switch, it starts with her forehand. That signature lefty weapon now carries a heaviness and topspin that simply was not there before, dragging opponents wide and constantly opening up sharp angles down the line. During her title run in Washington, she showed off a genuinely elite ability to absorb pace from some of the biggest hitters on tour and redirect it right back with interest. But technical upgrades alone do not explain everything, because what has really won people over is her grit, her refusal to fold when matches get uncomfortable, and that durability shows up in the raw numbers too. 56 matches and 37 wins before she even arrived in Ohio is an enormous workload, and it speaks to elite conditioning and a hunger that simply does not quit, which is exactly why that first round bye mattered so much, giving her precious days to physically and mentally reset after the emotional peaks of both Toronto and Washington. Meanwhile, on the other side of the net, Ruse commands a very different kind of respect around the locker room. She is not chasing a breakout moment, she has already lived through the grind for years, battling injuries and clawing through qualifying rounds week after week just to stay relevant on tour. And when she is fully locked in, as we just saw against Lynette, she is capable of hitting through basically anyone. That 6-love 6-3 scoreline was not luck, it was a textbook display of first strike tennis. Precise serving, aggressive returns taken early, total denial of any rhythm for her opponent. Stylistically, Ruse plays almost the exact opposite game to Alex. She hits the ball flat and penetrating, looking to end points quickly rather than construct them patiently. Her two-handed backhand is a genuine weapon when she flattens it out down the line. And she is fully comfortable coming forward to finish points at net. Her entire game is built on timing and confidence, and right now, fresh off that dominant first round win, her confidence is riding about as high as it possibly could. She knows she is the underdog on paper against the world number 20. But she also knows she is carrying a psychological trump card in her back pocket from that 2024 qualifying win. So let us actually dig into that previous meeting for a second, because it tells you almost everything you need to know about the tactical chess match ahead. Back in 2024, Alex took the opening set by using her natural lefty angles to keep Ruse constantly on the move and stretched into uncomfortable defensive positions. But as the match progressed, Ruse made a smart veteran adjustment, stepping in and taking the ball early on return, rushing Alex's preparation and forcing her to play from behind the baseline instead of dictating from it. From there, Ruse took full control of the tempo in the second and third sets, completely suffocating Alex's rhythm and forcing a wave of unforced errors. It was a match won in the trenches, and it proved Ruse had the tactical intelligence to solve a very tricky puzzle. But here is the thing. The Alex stepping onto this Cincinnati court in August of 2026 is simply not the same player. The most glaring difference is the serve. 2 years ago, her second delivery was a legitimate weakness that Ruse hunted down without hesitation. Today, that same second serve carries real kick, smarter placement, and a higher bounce that makes it far harder for aggressive returners to just step in and crush it. And physically, she is simply more robust now too. The grinding schedule she has played this year has built a level of resilience that allows her to sustain high intensity across 3 full sets without fading late, something that used to be a real vulnerability for her as a teenager. And when you zoom out to think about the actual battleground here, it really comes down to who controls the center of the court, because the courts at the Linder Family Tennis Center tend to play fast, often faster and more skiddy than what either player just experienced in Toronto or Washington. The ball shoots through low and quick, especially during day sessions when the summer sun bakes the surface. And that kind of speed inherently favors whoever strikes first and takes time away from their opponent, which means for Ruse to have any real chance here, she has to replicate exactly what she did against Lynette. Serve at a high percentage, hit her spots to stay out of Alex's strike zone, and most critically, keep Alex pinned deep behind the baseline. Because if Alex gets time and space to load up that heavy lefty forehand, the whole equation shifts. So Ruse's best path is almost certainly to attack the backhand relentlessly, flatten out cross-court rallies, and pounce on any short ball to end the point quickly, rather than get pulled into long, grinding exchanges where Alex's superior consistency and defensive range will eventually wear her down. On the flip side, Alex's game plan here is really about controlled aggression paired with patience, using that heavy topspin to push Ruse deep and force her to generate her own pace from well behind the baseline, which is not where Ruse wants to be. Serving smart out wide on the ad side to pull the right-hander off the court and open up easy forehand winners down the line. And above all, avoiding any kind of slow start, because coming off a bye can sometimes lead to early rust. So she needs her feet moving and her focus locked in from the very first point, absorbing whatever early flat-hitting onslaught Ruse throws at her and purposely stretching out rallies to test just how long Ruse's shot tolerance actually holds up. And then there is the mental side of this whole equation, which honestly might matter just as much as anything tactical, because the pressure here sits almost entirely on Alex's shoulders. She is the far higher seed. She is the player the entire tennis world is watching right now. And she is carrying the weight of an entire passionate fan base that will absolutely make its presence felt inside that stadium. She has handled that kind of pressure remarkably well all summer. But every single match brings a fresh version of that mental test. Whereas Ruse gets to play with total freedom, she already has a confidence-boosting win banked from round 1. She knows firsthand she can beat Alex because she has already done it once, and she genuinely has nothing to lose, and a relaxed, flat-hitting shot maker like that on a fast hard court is a legitimately dangerous proposition for any seeded player still trying to find their footing in a new tournament. And when you consider the broader stakes here, this match means very different things for each of them heading toward the US Open. For Ruse, a win would be a massive career-affirming statement, proof that she still has what it takes to knock off the game's brightest breakout stars. It would send her ranking climbing back toward that career high mark she has been chasing, bring in crucial points and prize money, and build a wave of momentum heading into New York. Whether she ends up needing qualifiers or gets into the main draw outright, this is a chance to validate years of grinding, rehabbing, and simply refusing to quit on a tour that does not hand out favors. For Alex, the stakes look different, but they run just as deep. She is riding the crest of a genuinely historic wave right now. And in professional tennis, the moment you hit one milestone, the target immediately shifts to the next. She's no longer satisfied just being a nice story. She is legitimately eyeing the top 15 and dreaming bigger than that. A deep run here at one of the sport's most prestigious events would cement her new status and prove that Washington was not a lightning in a bottle moment, but the new baseline of what she is capable of. And every match she plays right now is essentially live preparation for the US Open, where she will be seated at a Grand Slam for the very first time in her career. A status that protects her from facing the toughest opponents in the dangerous early rounds, so a tricky, well-armed opponent like Ruse is exactly the kind of test she needs right now to make sure her game and her mentality are sharpened for the brightest stage of the year. And if she can avenge that 2024 qualifying loss in the process, it becomes a tangible marker of just how far she has come as a competitor in only 2 years. So when you step back and look at this matchup as a whole, it really is a battle of trajectory against timing. Alex's career arc is pointing straight upward. She is statistically the better player right now. She has had the far superior season, and her game is simply more complete and modern. But Ruse's timing could not be better. She is riding a flawless confidence-boosting win. The fast conditions in Ohio suit her flat, aggressive style perfectly. And she carries the mental edge of having already solved this exact opponent once before under pressure. So if you are asking for a prediction, here's where I land. I expect a grueling 3-set battle. I think Ruse comes out swinging early, trying to catch Alex cold and rush her forehand before she settles in, possibly even stealing a tight opening set. But the defining trait of Alex's entire 2026 season has been her ability to weather storms and adjust on the fly against difficult opponents. And I expect her to do exactly that here, absorbing the early pressure, adjusting to the pace of Ruse's flat ball striking, finding that heavy punishing depth with her forehand, and slowly turning this into a physical war of attrition where her superior fitness and improved serve ultimately carry her through. But do not expect this to be easy for her. Ruse is not going to hand this over quietly. This one is going to be earned point by point, and it promises exactly the kind of dramatic, high-level tennis that makes early rounds at a tournament like this so much fun to watch. So whether you are rooting for the historic rise of the Filipino star or the gritty veteran brilliance of the Romanian, this is a match you do not want to miss, and once it wraps up, I want to hear your prediction in the comments. Drop your score, tell me who you have winning this one, and stick around because there is a lot more Cincinnati Open coverage coming your way.